Good baby. Good baby. It's so funny how like they can't understand precept. Thanks for the likes. Wah, wah, wah. I was gonna read a little bit. I'm trying to. We read like 3 papers since the last book we read. Was it a book? What was the last? No, wow, how come I can't remember the last book we read? Oh yeah, it was for will and to do. Right, yeah. Okay, so now I'm reading the sequel to the book. Um, so the book we're let's see here. The object of biblical proclamation is the whole man who is the slave of sin. Socially determined slave is the socially determined slave is the type, model, figure, and meaning of man. The slave is man. Nowadays, it is more usual to talk about alienated man, and that's what we should try to do. So he's talking about how we men are slaves. We're in the bondage of sin. Christ breaks the chains. The Bible and science go against each other. That second line doesn't make sense. They don't go against each other. Science is a theistic concept. Although there's a conspiracy within science, and it has to do with power. So science wants power, and traditionally religion had power. And so what science is doing is creating like fake theories to discredit the Bible. It's it's just a power grab of the scientific dictatorship, as opposed to like some religious institution with power. So that's what we're seeing. We're in the death throes of religion right now, where people have turned away from God and they've turned towards the man in the white lab coat and his scientific miracles to give him eternal life by curing cancer and all this. I'm aware. I don't know a lot about answers in Genesis. I'm aware of it though, but I've never like looked at it. Science would tell us that Jesus is a woman. Exactly. Science is crazy. Okay, so, but because, yeah, we're going to talk about alienated men as opposed to man being a slave, because since in our society we believe that we've eliminated slavery, it's more useful to talk about man as being alienated. So our starting point must be the description of alienation which was given, if not first, at any rate most forcefully by Karl Marx. Now, it should not be forgotten that that for Marx, alienation is not a localized fact. It is not just a mark of the proletariat in a capitalistic world. It is not just an economic condition, nor does it arise merely at one period in history. It is the total condition of man, and of every man, the moment he steps out of the primitive commune and falls victim to division of labor and to exploitation. Alienation is not the mere fact of subjection to others and exploitation by them. It goes much further. Play can constantly be made on the two orientations of the term. Alienation means being possessed externally by another and belonging to him. It also means being self-alienated, other than oneself, transformed into another. So we become alienated. Like, think about how at work, you can't be yourself at your job. You have to be professional. So when we enter society or the workforce, we have to sort of like be someone we're not. And this creates a type of alienation, I think, that we have to become something else than what we are. The problem has both these dimensions from Marx. This is why he speaks of alienation in work and the worker's lack of time to live. Man has no control of time. His whole life is taken over by work. He is thus less than a beast. Marx says what? We're less than a beast? Because our whole life is consumed by our work. He is physically broken and spiritually bestialized. The man who is no more than a mobile working force is lost. He is alienated. Furthermore, capitalism integrates this force, which is the whole life of man, into an object which is mere merchandise. This merchandise, which is sold, not just a product, the merchandise, it contains part of the life of man who has worked on it. He has been robbed of this by the capitalistic process and its organization of work. The man himself is put at the mercy of the winds of commerce. He himself is sold, not merely in terms of the force which he has contributed and which is assessed commercially, but also in terms of the product of his work. He is alienated because he cannot get himself back. He cannot escape this condition, which depends on a global system. This is the situation of every worker. That's interesting. He's saying that, like, we work and we produce a product, but that product contains a part of us. And so we're basically putting a value, even though it might be like a product, in a way, the product contains like our life force, our time and energy that we put into that product. And so then that time and energy, that's our life force, there's a value put on it, and it's bought and sold at a price. That's interesting. I never thought of it that way. Jesus is a woman. Only Christians can make truth claims is the wildest, dumbest shit on this app. I can prove it, though. P-Mar's trying to read aloud. It's pure comedy. Nice. I'm glad you enjoy it. An all-powerful, all-good God cannot exist alongside unnecessary suffering and evil in the world. The problem with saying that, Top, is like, you could only make claims about God if God revealed. Um, we can only know God through God's revelation. So unless God revealed that He's inconsistent with the suffering and evil in the world, then you couldn't say that God's inconsistent. You can't reason your way to that claim. You're just BSing. A godless explanation of the universe is simpler and involves fewer assumptions than theism. Yeah, but Toph, to say like the godless model is simpler is just to say it's not to say it's true. It's just to say you prefer it. So it's like, yeah, I realize you prefer their God is not real, but unfortunately for you, God's real. No scientific evidence supporting the existence of a deity. Yeah, but the fact that we can do science proves there's a deity. Any scientific evidence would support that there's a deity because God, the deity is necessary to do science. So that's actually not true. There's only evidence for God.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, good. Quick question for you, man.
Good.
Does that include your pastors who molest little kids?
Oh, okay. Exactly.
That's what I thought. So,
What's the evidence? Just that God's necessary for evidence. So all evidence would be evidence for God. Welcome that one.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm just a bit confused here. I'm not trying to convert you. I hope you're not trying to convert me. I'm just here to have just a reasonable conversation. How is to deny the Bible to deny science itself?
Because like science requires there to be sort of like consistency and order to the world, and God, the world where God orders things makes science possible. Whereas like the world where there's no God and there's just like it's like chaos, you couldn't do science in the world of chaos.
What if chaos?
What?
What if chaos can become order?
Oh, that's irrelevant. That's not really what we're talking about here. We're talking about like there's either like intention and design to the world, ultimate intention, ultimate design, or there's not ultimate intention and ultimate design. And if you say there's not ultimate intention and design, then there's no consistency and order in the world that would be necessary for science. It's just an entailment.
I don't know. I think the science comes from the very like as you break things down and get simpler and simpler, you'll notice everything builds itself into ordered structures because it likes being in ordered structures.
Okay, but there's no way to know this stuff, right? Like to make metaphysical science can't make metaphysical claims. And
I mean, with science, you can ask questions like, for example, this one was created without any help of any kind of God at all, period. I wonder how small can I cut something down?
yeah,
Will there
no,
be a point where
it
eventually I
doesn't
can't
work.
cut it down any further?
Okay,
That's how we
so
found out about the atom.
we need metaphysical claims to do science, yet science can't justify metaphysical claims. So that means that science can't
Why
justify
does
itself
science need to justify a metaphysical claim?
because science relies on metaphysical claims in order to do science. So then the question is
Can't you
like,
just state metaphysical claims? Don't you not? Why do you need a God for that?
because only God can justify metaphysical claims, and since they're
You don't need to
needed,
justify it. You can just state them.
we can't just no. We have to have evidence for why we think things are true. We can't just state are true.
Yeah, I mean, people state things that they think might be true all the time with absolutely no bias. Like, so many interesting developments
Okay.
in science
Well,
have just been created because someone thought, I wonder about this entirely random concept. I'm just going to throw something at the wall and see if it sticks.
okay, well, I mean, I'm kind of looking to talk to like rational people who want evidence for their beliefs. And if you're just going to believe things based on blind faith, then
Hey, that makes two of us.
no, I don't believe things based on blind faith. I have evidence for my belief.
Sure you do, bud. Sure you do.
Yeah, I do. It's called the transcendental argument for God.
What's that?
It's just so a transcendental proof is a proof that shows that this thing that this there's like we take a mental fact, like the fact that we have knowledge, and we go, well, this non-mental fact, like God existing, is going to be necessary for this mental fact that I have knowledge. So a transcendental proof just shows there's a necessary relationship in this our ability to understand the world, and then this other like fact that would be necessary to make it true that we can understand the world, like logic has to be true for us to understand the world. We couldn't understand the world without logic, so logic would be like a transcendental. And we just show that God's also a transcendental. God is transcendentally necessary to understand reality. So to deny God is like to deny reality in a like a fundamental way.
I completely disagree. I
But
think that makes no sense at all.
you can't disagree. That's the point.
I don't know. I think you very well could. I think the
Yeah, but
universe
that's
is
a
built upon
contradiction.
order, and basically, if you notice that when things
But it
get
doesn't.
smaller
It
and
doesn't
smaller,
matter what you think. It matters what you can. I don't care what you think.
well,
I
no,
care
you
what
can prove this too. When it comes
you
down
think.
to how things are built, everything
You
likes
can't.
to be in ordered
Okay.
structures because
I
it
just.
keeps
I'm not really interested in listening to bullshit, though. I'm sorry. Like you can't.
bullshit.
But you.
Do
It
you know
is
how
bull.
atoms are
Hold
built?
on. Well, then what? Prove any of this shit that you're saying. Prove it.
Look at the way electrons crowd
Okay.
around
Thanks
atoms.
for coming. I'm looking to talk to rational people.
No, no, this is rational.
No, you're being emotional
How am I being emotional?
because you're ignoring evidence and you're just being goofy and believing things based on blind faith.
I'm not at all.
You act. That's absolutely 100% what you're doing right now.
Electrons crowd in ordered structures
Okay. Thanks
around
for playing
atoms.
LSUL.
That's proof of.
They just want to be emotional. So, welcome to Epsilon.
Hey, what's up?
I
So
just
I just wanna.
what's up?
Have you ever read Sir William James's The Will to Believe? It was an essay he published, I believe, early 20th century. He
No.
was a Christian philosopher, and even he admits that there is no evidence, there is no hard evidence of God's existence. You have to choose to have faith to believe.
Okay. Well, that I would say that guy's ridiculous. I totally disagree with that. I think we should have evidence for our beliefs.
And
Jesus.
yet even other great theologians such as C.S. Lewis and Tolkien agree with James.
Okay. Well, I don't agree. I think we should have evidence for our beliefs. What do you think?
And I agree with that.
Okay.
But that evidence isn't scientific. Science deals definitionally in the natural world,
Yeah.
and supernatural claims cannot be verified purely naturally.
Well, if God is necessary for any evidence at all facts require God, then even scientific facts would implicitly indicate God by the necessary entailment.
But you would have to prove that God is required for proof.
Yeah, I can do that easy.
How so?
Yeah, so I could take like any fact at all, like the fact that we can boil noodles. That fact is going to require like uniformity of nature to boil noodles, or identity over time, or cause and effect, or reliability of sense data and cognitive functioning. And all those things, I just listed 5 things. Those things are only explained by God's revelation. Like human logic and science can't explain any of those things, and those things are necessary for facts.
They could just be explained by acknowledging that natural processes govern the universe and that the
Correct.
universe, because the universe is made of matter and all matter has those same properties,
No,
you
but
can imply
you can't,
that.
dude. You have to have reasons for why you think something's true. So we can't just say things. It's just is what it is. We can't just we have to have evidence, right? And if God reveals knowledge to us, then that knowledge is going to be justified because God is the arbiter of truth in the system.
But a lot of people think that they're hearing God and aren't. For instance, and most
Uh-huh.
notably, in my mind at least, a lot of Southerners during the Civil War used the Bible to justify slavery and said that it was a God ordained institution, which of
Okay.
course it's not.
But how did they do that? What was their argument?
They use specific places in the Bible, especially the passages out of Exodus, to claim that God had instituted slavery forever and all time for humanity.
Well, I've actually read the arguments they make, and that's not true because they would appeal to the curse of Ham to justify slavery. So what you're saying is not accurate. I've actually went and read the arguments that they made. They were just racist people. That's it. They didn't. There's nothing in the Bible that would justify that. But like this is kind of off topic. The
Right,
point is God's necessary for facts, right?
and you can't necessarily prove that because
I
again,
just
God is
did.
supernatural.
I just
You just
did, dude.
asserted, you just asserted something. You don't
I
provide
didn't.
evidence.
No, I didn't just assert something. I made a precise and devastating argument, right? So if all we have is science and philosophy to know the world, that would be insufficient to understand the world because they can't explain things that are necessary like logic to explain to understand that we need logic to understand the world. Only God's revelation can explain like um how we can use logic and like what logic is. We You'd have no way to ground logic on a godless model of reality. And since logic is necessary for any fact, therefore God is necessary for facts. It's really simple. See that?
I can understand that argument. However, to
Okay.
simply assert
Go.
that God is necessary, A, isn't a way to convince people who aren't already theists because they don't already believe in a God. A lot of arguments are presupposing the existence of God.
Well,
And
the
B,
point of the argument isn't to convince people, it's just to prove my position's true.
is that not the same thing?
No, we can't. I can't control if someone's convinced, right? Only God can convict someone's heart. My job as an apologist is just to rationally defend the faith. So I provide evidence, which I've done, and then now that puts the burden on my opponent. Now you would have to defend your godless model of reality. Which good luck. You think anyone can
I
do
am a
that?
theistic evolutionist. I just came up to kind of point out some of
Oh.
the flaws.
Yeah, well, you have failed miserably.
I would still stand by the statement that relying purely on divine revelation for an understanding of the world is irrational.
Yeah, no one's doing that. The
Well,
divine revelation is a foundation so we can use rational proof and empirical proof. Without the divine revelation, you couldn't make sense of rational or empirical proof. You wouldn't have proof of anything because revelation is necessary for proof. There's no way around it. It's very simple. I don't know why, if you believe in God, just accept the proof of God then. Like, what's wrong with you?
but a lot of people use divine revelation as an excuse
Yeah,
to
well,
deny actual science. For instance, the theory of evolution by natural selection,
yeah.
global warming, climate change, the age of the
Oh
earth,
my
etc.,
God.
etc., etc.
Yeah, obviously, because evolution would contradict the story in Genesis, where,
But the Bible doesn't have to be taken 100% literally at face value
oh,
to
really?
be 100%
So then,
spiritually
if there's
true.
no fall of man, if death and suffering enters the world before the fall of man, then there's no point for Jesus being crucified
The fall of man brought death and suffering to man.
to the world. And
Okay,
so,
simply interpret the story
There was no
differently.
death and suffering in the world until the fall of man, and evolution would contradict that. And if there's no fall of man, then what was the point of Jesus' atonement? There's no point for Jesus' sacrifice. So evolution completely undermines the whole point of Christianity. And you've been indoctrinated into a you've been the devil's tricked you.
I
So
was a creationist until the middle of last year when I
well,
learned
go
critical
back.
thought, learned a mountain of scientific evidence compared to the molehill of the stories in Genesis chapters 1 and 2, which, by the way, contradict themselves in the order of creation
Hmm.
and in several other aspects.
Are you aware of the criticisms of science?
I am, and that's how science
Can you name
works.
one?
Science works
Name one.
by proving itself wrong. For instance, one
This
of
is
the things,
you have
one
no
of the,
idea what you've been indoctrinated into science. I'm sorry, but you've been completely fooled and lied to by your scientific masters. And so I suggest you turn away from science and turn towards God. You're going down the path of destruction. So this
scientific
FYI.
evidence and the
And
existence
look,
of God
look what
are
science
not
done from you. You made a
inconsistent.
complete buffoon of yourself on my panel. You can't even debate this crap. Science is a complete joke, dude. It's turned you into a fool. Look, you gotta be with God. You gotta believe in the Bible, dude. Give up this scientific fantasy. Seriously, it's
Especially
bad.
me coming up here was a waste of time. I don't waste my time arguing with creationists.
Okay. He's too good for us creationists. He's too good for me. What a genius.
Hello?
Welcome, Lord.
Hey, good morning. Or whatever time it is for you. So could you just... So that, second claim, that to deny the Bible is to deny science itself, could you explain that real quick?
Sure. So science is a theistic concept. To like
No, it's not.
yes, it is.
Science is not a theistic concept.
Of course, it is.
Science is based upon the scientific method, which is based upon observations of the natural world, which you don't need theism to do. You don't need theism to observe things.
Sure, you do.
No, you don't. Can you explain how you need theism to observe things? You have
Yeah.
senses you can use to observe the world. You don't need theism for that.
Sure, you do. So like to observe something, cause and effect has to be true, right? Because something has to
Yeah, cause and
cause
effect is most certainly true.
something would have to cause an effect of our sense data to observe.
I agree.
Okay. And so, how would you explain cause and effect without God's revelation? What would be your single unifying principle with causal powers?
Okay, well, cause and effect simply exist. We don't know everything. That's how science works.
Okay, sir, that's the response I would expect from a 14-year-old. How old are you?
I'm 18. I'm actually turned 19.
Okay, that explains a lot. Okay.
Okay.
So, you're just really low information, you're a young person, right? So, to explain to observe anything, we need a single unifying principle, right? And only Christians have a single unifying
That's
principle.
not true. Actually, every religious person has.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna move on if you're gonna bicker with me because you're just like you're
I'm not
18.
bickering.
Look, dude, you're
No,
18 years old.
I'm
Look,
sorry,
dude,
you're
look,
bullshit.
dude, look,
You're fucking ignorant.
look, dude.
I've been listening to your
Look,
lives. You have no actual factual argument.
You are low information. You're a young boy. You don't know what you're talking about. Okay.
Now you're using a
No.
fallacy. My age does not
Well,
specify my
I don't
knowledge.
have to use a fallacy. I can
No
make
matter
a
how
fucking
old you are,
argument,
you
dude.
are less intelligent than me. I can tell that from listening to your arguments.
Oh my god. Okay.
There's nothing logical in your arguments.
I'm making an argument. If facts, then God. We have facts,
That's
therefore
an
God.
assertion.
God's
That's not an
necessary
argument.
for
That's an
facts.
assertion. That's not an argument.
Yeah. So we need uniformity of nature for facts, right?
Okay, do you understand that things can
Hello?
just exist?
We need
Right.
uniformity of nature to have facts.
And
right?
why do you need God for that?
How would you justify epistemically the principle of induction?
Can you justify
without
God?
Hello? How do you
God-
hello? How do you
Yeah.
what's your epistemic justification for the principle of induction, which is necessary to have any facts?
I'm sorry?
What is your epistemic justification for the principle of induction, genius, so that you can have facts? You don't know what the fuck you're talking about, do you?
You don't. You don't know what you're
Okay.
talking about.
Okay, thanks for coming. I wish you well.
Okay.
Wow.
I wish you well too, man.
Arrogant. Look at the arrogance. Doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. This guy might have disconnected. Mortal Kombat! No atheists want to challenge me to Mortal Kombat? Finish him. Round 1, fight. Tekken 8. Isn't that like the worst Tekken? Is that the new one? I think Tekken 7's the worst one. I don't really play fighting games anymore though. I used to be really into like competitive gaming, but I'm like, man, I'm old. I'm too old for that shit now. I can't be doing that. But I still enjoy like single player gaming. Okay, so we're talking about man being alienated as a worker. Like when you have to go to work, you have to be someone else. And that your time and your energy is put into the product that you create. So you're like putting yourself into your product and you're selling yourself basically. Well, what's going on? Thanks for the gift, Jose. When I'm ready to hear. Oh, some guy predicting the. Yeah, you're owned for that time period, Cannibal. You're like the property of the corporation. Yeah, this Bible scholar dude, he likes Karl Marx. I can tell. Well, because he's also said that the alienation in money is even more serious. Karl Marx finally shows that this applies both to those who have money and also to those who do not. So Karl Marx, I think like he had some really bad ideas, like especially about God, but I think some of his ideas were pretty accurate too. This alienation is the other aspect of economic alienation. Oh, this applies to the rich and the poor. Okay. We know how Marx shows that money is finally the only real need in the capitalist world. The amount of money becomes the only essential quality of man. But by the play of the economic system, the power of a given amount of money constantly diminishes a man. Oh, the power of a given amount of money constantly diminishes, like inflation, I guess. And man is reduced to a machine for amassing money in order to try unceasingly to cover this mortal wound. Money reduces man to an abstraction. It reduces man himself to something quantitative. Man is taken into consideration only to the extent that he has money. The man who has nothing is nothing nowadays. The problem is that of man's possession by the fact of non possession. The problem is that of man's possession by the fact of non possession. We're possessed by the fact that we don't possess anything or something. What? To the extent that money has become the only active agent in the world, the only mediator or intermediary between all secular realities, the only common measure, and finally, the only link between man and the world. The man who has no money is literally separated from the reality of the world and from existence in general. In other words, he's reduced to his own unreality. What is real is what is not man. Lack of money means that man is possessed by anti-nature and the anti-human. The situation of man who has money and is dedicated to gaining it is no better. The possession of money is the mark of a lesser existence, according to the celebrated dictum. The less you spend, the less you exist. And the less you exist, the more you have. For economical spending augments one's fortune. The greater the renunciation of life, the greater the alienated essence of man. What man can no longer do, money can do in his place. It becomes the real power, nourished by man's own substance. The man who has money is completely alienated even in its possession. The capitalist is simply capital made man. He has no existence of his own. The capitalist is simply capital made man. That's a nice one. I like that one. The capitalist is simply capital made man. Money, it's a gas. People on TikTok just love to fight each other. Holy crap. In such a nice and loving way, though. The alienation, however, is more than an economic phenomena. It includes ideological and especially religious alienation. Man is alienated because, once launched on the venture of exploitation in which he no longer acts justly, he is obliged to view everything with a corrupt conscience and to create an ideology which will conceal the true situation. His religion is the most complete and misleading ideology. It is here that he is most completely divested of himself. This is partly because, as in Feuerbach, he dreams up an illusory supreme being out of all that is best in himself, out of his own worth and righteousness and goodness. He transfers these to the absolute. He thus robs himself by the projection. Partly, however, it is also because man expects liberation from someone else instead of himself. Religion is the opium of the people because it impedes action by causing man to transfer his own possibilities to another being. It thus gives him false hopes and deters him from taking his destiny into his own hands. Religion is undoubtedly man's highest achievement. It is a general theory of the world, its logic in popular form, its spiritual point of honor, its enthusiasm, its moral sanction, its solemn complement, its general ground of consolation and justification. It is the fantastic realization of human energy. Religious misery is, on the one hand, an expression of real misery, and on the other hand, it is protest against this misery. Religion is the sighing of the crushed creature, the heart of a world without heart, the spirit of an age without spirit. These fine words of Marx should not deceive us. Just because it is these things, religion is the worst of all things. It is man's profound alienation. When Marx describes it along these lines, he is writing critically, not appreciatively. Religion is the solemn complement, the justification, and the moral sanction of this world, i.e., of this alienated structure of the world, of the organization of man's exploitation by man. It is a fantastic realization of human energy, not in the sense of the extraordinary or prodigious, but in the basic sense of the phantasmagorical. Humanity makes a tremendous effort to respond to itself, and it lands up in the fantastic world of religion. Again, religion is the heart of a world without heart, and the spirit of an age without spirit. But this means that it is the final and most total deception. For in this world without heart or spirit, it gives to man the illusion of heart and spirit, preventing him from perceiving the truth, i.e., the inhumanity of the world, and thus substituting an illusory consolation for a real examination of the situation. Badass. This whole cumulative set of alienations reaches its climax in the person of the worker. For if the point of departure, the origin of the alienation, is to be found in the objective economic situation of the worker, the alienated condition of the worker goes far beyond his economic state. He is a man who is completely shut off from himself. He has become an appendix of the machine. He is born in the anonymity of a city. He has no access at all to culture. He is stripped of family and country. He is unrestrictedly dependent. He does not depend at all on himself. His only wealth is his power as a worker, and this is not dependent on himself, but on one who buys it. He has to have a purchaser. The purchaser will come forward only if it is in his own interests. This will be so only if conditions are favorable in the world markets. Marx comes here to one of the most important aspects of alienation of modern man. His fate depends completely and in a way which rules out any intervention on his part on objective global phenomena which man is impotent to control, no matter what his place may be. Now, what Marx tells us about human alienation can be contested in part. In respect of the economic analysis, one might argue that the worker in the Western world is no longer in this position of radical dependence, of complete deprivation. One might point out that the causes of alienation are not those suggested by Marx, that some of the things which he indicates are no longer true. This does not alter in the least, however, the accuracy of Marx's analysis of modern man. We have to accept his description as perspicacious. What the hell? Okay. We have to accept his description as prophetic. We have not only to accept it, we have also to add it and to develop it. Or to add to it and develop it. In our time, many of the traditional aspects of alienation, such as poverty or inequality, have largely disappeared. Alienation today is not that of misery or social inferiority. It has taken on a more profound and total sense. It extends to more than the economic sphere. It is a psychological or moral problem. Nor is it limited to individuals. It embraces social categories. It is political in the larger sense. Elimination of exploitation does not banish alienation. One can see this in Yugoslavia, China, Cuba, or Algeria. If we say that the life of a worker in the 20th century has few interests, that he has no social life, that his union life is insignificant, that his family life and status are the driving forces in his existence. This is simply to transfer to the proletariat problems which were previously those of the leisured class. This is not accepted without a struggle. Workers and most militants refuse to go beyond the concept of exploitation. Yet surely the ideal of continually increasing production in lands where there is neither cold nor hunger makes no sense whether one is exploited or not. Making second-rate goods which are not really needed makes no sense whether one is exploited or not. Working one's whole life like an autonomation with no individual initiative makes no sense whether one is exploited or not. Not having any power over what is around us makes no sense whether one is exploited or not. Being subject to autonomous forces which one cannot control makes no sense whether one is exploited or not. This is Moss' fine description of alienation, and it shows us that alienation on the Marxist basis has now taken on a new dimension and depth, which justifies us in speaking of modern man as alienated man. This testimony agrees with the more general reflections of Ricoeur, or what is it, Ressuer, which will form a fitting conclusion to our next consideration. I didn't really understand that paragraph. I think I'm gonna chat GPT that one. Another wannabe Dearth Dorkins. Yeah, you're welcome to debate me. Maybe you can practice on me. If you want to challenge the Big Daddy Darth Dawkins, you could like practice on me. Darth Dawkins, the greatest debater of all time. Yo, Elax, I'm looking to debate people.
Hey, what's up? I'm
Looking,
sorry, what?
I'm looking to debate people.
Who's here to debate people?
Me.
Yeah.
Yeah. What? Aren't you a Christian?
Um, yes, I am actually. How'd you know that?
Because you've been on here before.
Yeah.
So you want to debate me, but we're both Christians.
No, I didn't want to debate you necessarily. Um, just a it's kind of a funny question. I just want to know like what's the best argument you've heard about Christianity or against Christianity.
The best argument. There's no argument. There's no good argument against Christianity. The best they'll do is like the logical problem of evil, which is
Do you believe in a flat Earth or
no.
globe?
Why would I believe in a flat Earth? That's crazy.
Okay, so you believe it's a globe.
Yeah,
Why?
because the evidence. Are you a flat earther?
No. I just don't. I haven't seen a proof from either side
Are you serious?
being
You haven't
presented.
you haven't seen a picture of the Earth?
I haven't seen the globe myself. Is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah,
So what?
that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, really.
Well, you sound goofy. Like you should just believe. I mean, we
I
can.
should just believe what I'm shown. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
you should believe what people tell you.
dear sir. With all due respect, no.
Yes.
What?
You should believe what people tell you. It's unreasonable
Okay,
to live your
this
life like
leaves room for like
you are
people
too
being
paranoid.
what? Can you wait? I was saying something.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, this leaves room for like people that are like manipulated by the by like certain people within the church that use the Bible.
Okay.
So why should I believe that everything that's told to me,
I didn't say that.
known to me?
I didn't say that.
That's what he said.
No. I said like in general, like we should believe what is told to us from trustworthy sources.
Yeah, people go to church believing that the church is a trustworthy source.
Okay.
So why should they believe it? Usually they're like yeah, they it's not a good thing to think that, man.
It is. I'm gonna.
Not.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
You're just you're goofy, man. You can't live your life just not trusting what people tell you. Welcome, son.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. So I got a question.
Sure.
To me, like I used to be a Christian, right? And simply I just don't follow off the Christian's beliefs no more, right? And I just came to a conclusion like why like do you believe that God is a title, right?
No, God is the supreme being, creator of everything, ground of everything.
So you know God.
Yeah.
And how do you know?
He revealed himself to everyone in creation.
By creation?
Yeah, though everything in the world exemplifies ultimate intention, ultimate design. It could only do so if it was revealed by the Christian God.
So God got basically personalities.
Yeah, he's personal, yeah.
It's personal, right? So
Yeah.
you the one who create God.
I don't create God. No, God.
Not in that sense, but I'm talking about title wise. Like, what is your name?
Mars.
So if I was to say, okay, Mars is this and like give you a whole bunch of labels, does that make you who you are?
No.
Right.
So what's your point?
I'm trying to say is I really feel like people create God and really nobody knows who God is. At the end of the day, it's like,
Okay, can God reveal who he is to us?
how would you know?
Because why can't God give us knowledge?
I mean, that's fine, but I'm saying, how would you know who God is? Like, if you was to tell God to prove Himself to you, how would you tell Him?
Because God comes down here and he goes, I'm God, and then he has his prophet perform miracles, so we know that the person's speaking for God.
So that's proving God is real by somebody else coming onto. Like it's like the same thing. If I was to tell God to fly, people would call me a demon.
What are you talking about, man? Like,
I'm
so
I'm
God,
literally.
look, man, this is not complicated. God can give humans knowledge. Like, he's God, he can do anything, right? So he
Mhm.
can give us knowledge. And then we know it's true because the knowledge comes from God and he's provided like evidence, like miracles and prophets and Jesus and lots of things. So we have
But
really good reason to believe Christianity is true. There's like you can't rationally deny it.
you can't deny it.
Not rationally.
Yeah, not like with your religion belief. I can't really deny it.
You
Like I
can't
can't disprove it.
rationally deny it. Your position's emotional. If you reject Christianity, you're doing so based on emotions, not evidence.
I'm not rejecting Christianity in that base. I mean, there's a lot of truth inside of almost every religion. Don't you think?
No, I think Christianity is the truth, and everything else is false.
So you, so basically, you just have faith that it's
No,
100% real.
no. I would. We objectively prove. I objectively prove Christianity. We should have evidence for our beliefs. Only
Right.
Christians have evidence for their beliefs.
So how does that make your God real? Like how? Like at the end of the day, how does this make?
Evidence. What do you mean? The evidence?
And the same evidence can be taught in every religion. That same thing
No,
you believe in can be taught in
no,
any other religion.
no, no. The world exemplifies ultimate intention and design, and it can only do so if it's revealed through the Christian God. That's it.
So once again, your God have a personality. What
Yeah,
makes your God different from everybody else?
it is a unique. Like we have a triune God. Okay, no other God is triune.
God is everything, right? So I can call him the devil.
Okay, thanks for coming.
See, no, that's a general question.
Yeah, I wish you well. You're just goofy person. Oh, tabs. What's up, tab? I might go back to bed. Really, the real clown show this morning. Yeah, make a lot of noise. You might not realize I added them. Real clown show today. I wish I could do the Krusty the Clown laugh.
Hey,
Oh,
hi, I'm a Christian,
yeah.
and I don't believe anything anybody
Prove it.
says.
Well, kids, this is where you would watch Itchy and Scratchy, except they're on the Gabbo show now. So, Eastern Europe's favorite cat and mouse team, Worker and Parasite.
And then it just does that for like a minute. Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
it's basically the show today.
We got a couple wacky people today.
But yeah.
You call that guy a Christian, and then he says, "I can't believe anything anybody says."
Yeah. Welcome, Aaron.
Sorry, I didn't hear a lot of the conversation, so I'm probably this might not be the right live for me. But if there's no hardcore proof for God, then why can only Christians make truth claims? And you might have already discussed this, but
Oh, there is hardcore proof for God. So like I say that like God is necessary for proof at all, or God's necessary for evidence. So I could take like any fact and show that God's necessary for that fact.
you're saying you're not just saying there's evidence then for God. You're saying flat out proof. Most Christians will say there's evidence, but they will at least say there's no proof. You're actually saying there's proof then.
Yeah, I'm saying God's necessary. You can't rationally deny God. Yeah.
Couldn't it be? I talk now when you say that again. Maybe you already talked about this. So sorry if you're just now beating a dead horse. But when you say God is necessary, do you mean that God is necessary for the universe to exist, or do you mean God is necessary just for?
Well, the type of proof it's called a transcendental proof, and the idea of a transcendental proof is that you show the thing is like necessary to understand the world. So we would say God's necessary for an intelligible experience. that to deny God would make it impossible to like have knowledge or learn from our experience.
All right, I guess that's where you and I differ, but I mean, I could be wrong. I'm not really a believer. I don't want to BS anybody here, but so for me, it could. So I think I understand what you're saying. For me, I would see a possibility in something like a. I don't think so. Nobody thinks that something could come from nothing, but there are people, scientists, that say maybe it was some kind of a quantum field that spawned the universe, something that could be eternal yet without agency. But you're saying no, whatever created the universe has to have
No.
agency or personality for it to be, you know what I'm saying, the personhood for it to be intelligible is basically what you're saying.
No, I'm saying that so like traditionally there's two types of way human beings have knowledge. They come like some will say like there's rationalism, where they'll say knowledge comes from reason. And some are like empiricism, where they'll say knowledge comes from sense data, like science. And I'm saying that those are inefficient. If all we have is like our reason and our science or whatever to know the world, then we wouldn't be able to know the world. That necessarily we need a third type of knowledge. And this type of knowledge is called revelation. And so I'm saying that like unless God reveals himself to us in creation, then science would be impossible and logic, reason would be impossible. Like nothing would make sense.
All right. Well, yeah, we're probably so. Yeah, this is probably obviously this is not the type of debate that could be hashed out on TikTok. Although there's millions of conversations on TikTok about this going on right now, but I don't see why why logic and knowledge and stuff like that. I don't see why knowledge and coming to true conclusions, why that couldn't just be an emergent property. That type of intelligence couldn't just be an I don't see why that couldn't just be an emergent property, of brains without even if nothing, even if whatever created the universe, to use that word created, even if it doesn't have some kind of consciousness or mind or intelligence, I don't see why we I mean, I'm not saying that there is no God. Maybe there is a God. I'm not saying I'm proving that there's no God or anything like that. Maybe you're right. Maybe there is a God, but I don't see why it's necessary to be the case.
Because to truth claims, right? So when we say something's true, we're saying this thing like comports to reality.
Uh-huh.
The cat is on the mat, therefore, in like this external physical world, the cat is on the mat. It actually comports to a real state of affairs.
Mm-hmm.
So the problems, right? Like the Matrix, Neo, before he takes the red pill, he's got science, right? But science can't tell him he's in the Matrix, you see.
Uh-huh.
So like when we talk about things correspond to reality, well, we don't even know what reality is. Because science can't tell us what reality is. Philosophers can't tell us what reality is. So I'm saying that we would need God, who God's the truth, knows everything, source of makes everything. God revealing to us what reality is. That's the only way we can know what reality is, because humans are limited. So without God helping us, we couldn't make truth claims. We couldn't know things about the world. We couldn't know reality.
I can agree with some of that, believe it or not. Even as even as someone who doesn't believe in God right now, I mean, I could be convinced if we're in probably not in a TikTok conversation, but there are certain ways that would convince me. But so I get it. We can't. You're right. We can't through any means known to us, science or whatever. You're right. We can't know if we're in some kind of a matrix. There are actually people out there, even in scientific realms, who question maybe this is all a simulation. You're absolutely right. We have no way of knowing that unless somebody would come to us and show us the way. We're in the matrix. Maybe it would be some kind of revelation. There really is no there, but so I agree with that part to a degree, but there's no um evidence currently. Maybe there will be in the future, but currently there really is no evidence that there is something or someone to tell us, by the way, you're in a simulation, or this reality that you see isn't actually reality, or revelation. Like if there's some evidence out there that there could be some possible revelation, some third thing that you mentioned, that third thing, so that would be probably, I would assume that, correct me if I'm wrong, I would assume that that would be something supernatural. We don't, so I get that we would have to have something, let's just call it supernatural, to explain to us if we were in some kind of a matrix. But the problem is, there is really no evidence that there is a supernatural realm. If we discovered something that was supernatural, how would we know that that thing that we just discovered is in fact not natural? There it is, we discovered it, we can measure it, but it's not natural. How on earth would we determine that it's not natural? I mean, if it exists, it's natural, right? It would just become part of our science, I would think. I don't know, maybe that's not correct, but that's how I view it anyway. But I don't know, maybe that's not philosophically correct, but I don't know how we would determine something that we could discover is not natural. Like, it's
Yeah,
super.
but so like we both agree. I mean, you would. I'm assuming you would agree that we should have like good reasons for our beliefs, right?
Sure, I think everyone would probably agree with that. I think.
And we both believe there's an external physical world.
Hmm.
But you're sort of conceding that you don't really have a good reason to believe in it. You just kind of like accept it.
Well, I would put it, the way I would put it is that we do have excellent, very good reason to believe in the external world. We just don't necessarily have excellent, good reason to believe that this is, like, we're not in a matrix. We have no way of knowing that.
That's
We,
what I'm saying. Right?
yeah. So the external world is real, but whether or not it's a simulation or a matrix, I guess you
Well,
would say.
that's what I mean. That's what
I got you. Okay. Okay.
you're conceding that you don't really have a good. It could be a matrix. You don't know. So that's like a kind of a concession that like you don't really have a good reason for that belief because you don't know, like, really, you don't really know what reality is, like, if you're being honest, ultimately.
Sure, right.
But like me,
Solipsism,
yeah,
or what do you call it? A simulation theory, or some kind of solipsism, or like these are things that we can't, that no one really can say. Nope, that solipsism is absolutely false. The simulation theory absolutely false. Like we don't yet. We can't really go there yet. And if there were, I'd love it if there were revelation of some sort. You're saying there is, and a lot of religious people say that there is, and I just say I don't. I think there's evidence for that. Yeah, I know you say that there
what I'm,
is.
what I'm saying is like my system of truth, where like I'm saying God's the authority in the system. And, like, I'm gonna take the Bible as like my authority.
Mhm.
Like I get it, where like that seems like a simple explanation, a simple easy way out, but it does, like, if it's the case that the Christian God revealed himself and the things of the Bible are the word of God, then we know that the external world is true because it'd be justified in virtue of like knowledge coming from God. But you don't want to like you want to say like you want to reject that we can have this like knowledge from God that's justified in virtue from God. You want to be more like knowledge must be rationally or empirically justified type person, I'm assuming.
If there was evidence that there is, that whatever created the universe has agency and does give us revelation and all that, then I wouldn't. I would hope that I wouldn't reject it, and I hope that I would accept it.
Well,
Um,
that's kind of how my argument goes. Like, if we assume my bias, like I'm admitting I have this bias, I take the Bible as authority. That's my bias. But if we assume my bias, then like science and philosophy makes sense because like God's knowledge provides a foundation to have like empiricism and rational proof. And
sure.
if we deny that revelation, if we assume your bias, like a godless model of reality, then it's like impossible to make sense of our observed data that we what we experience. It wouldn't be
Well,
consistent with atheism.
it's not impossible if it's not impossible to have knowledge and all of that stuff about the world even without a god if our brains, I'm sorry, not our brains, but our if our intelligence and our consciousness and our ability to do logic and all of that, if that stuff is just an emergent property from the brain, it comes from the brain, then it's absolutely not impossible without a God. Now, yes, there's still mysteries of exactly what consciousness is. Yeah, it's true. We don't have consciousness exactly all figured out yet. We don't. There's a lot of mysteries behind it, but if consciousness is just a property that's like an emergent property that comes from the brain, which it seems like that is the case because every time we have an example of consciousness, there's always a brain behind it. So if now if consciousness comes from something other than the brain, like it's some force out there that has to come from something else, then you're right. Then suddenly we would have to have a god. But I'm not convinced that's the case. Maybe it's just an emergent property. If it's emergent property that comes from brains, then no, you don't need a god. I'm not saying that is the case, but if
I
that's the
don't
case,
even, yeah, but I don't even think that would get you out of the problem because, like, you're gonna need logic is gonna have to be true prior to human experience because without like the law of identity, if we couldn't identify our experience without law of identity, we couldn't
mm-hmm.
make sense of it. We couldn't have an experience. Identity is
Yeah.
necessary for experience. So, law of identity has to be true prior to human experience. And like, I don't think you'd be able to ground like logic. Like, how would you make sense of it? I don't think you could just
Well,
ground logic without God.
from what I understand, I'm not good with philosophy or logic. I just listen to what people say and read books, and so I'm not. This is beyond my wheelhouse a little bit. But from what I understand, logic, things like logic, even mathematics, which has logic in it, these are like, from what I understand, logic and math and things like that are languages that we create well, we discover and create in order to describe the universe. Like the stuff is true without us, but we're just using logic and math to describe the universe around us. For like, I don't think we. I don't know if logic, the three classic laws of logic, for example, do those exist without human? If humans cease to exist, the the language of logic might also. I mean, yeah, it's true. Something couldn't be A and non-A at the same time. Of course, I don't know. I'm probably not making sense, but this gets really, really complex, and I'm not convinced that you have to quote. I'm not. There could be a God. You very well could be 100% right. You very well could be. I just don't see why it has to quote. That's my only issue with this whole thing is that it has to have a God for all of this to make sense. That's what I'm not convinced of is the necessity part.
Aaron?
Mhm.
So, so in the Garden of Eden, basically, Adam and Eve were told they could be like God, knowing good and evil, and Eve saw that it was pleasing and desirable to make one wise. So she ate of the fruit, and then Adam ate because they wanted their own moral autonomy. And I think and didn't want to do what God told them to do. So, is it really that you can't see that it is God that has to exist for us to exist, or is it you don't want to? Because I mean, essentially, what I keep hearing you say is, you know that you didn't exist before God, you didn't exist before logic, and if logic came from God and logic is a characteristic of God, and that's how we know things, is it possible you don't want to admit it because you don't want God in charge of your life?
Mm, I mean, if I just if I was in a shrink laying down on a couch and they were picking at my brain, would they discover that I don't want God to exist? I don't know, maybe, but that would be irrespective, of. I'm fine with facts don't care about your feelings. I'm totally fine with that. It
But
would.
I think
It's truth.
logic can direct your feelings. Your feelings are a caboose. When I'm talking, to the train, when you put faith like coal into a train powered by coal, right? Your feelings will follow. But what we're saying is God is the ultimate truth
because Jesus says, "I am truth. I am the way. I'm the life." And then God showed us proof supernaturally from the pages of the Bible by raising him from the dead. If you read Acts 17:31, they were worshiping this god of ignorance called the unknown God in Athens and Greece back in 2000, year 00, when Paul was walking around. And he says, God has overlooked times of ignorance, and he has fixed a time for him. He will judge this world to appointed time. And a man named Jesus Christ rising from the dead, there's your supernatural. If you can just prove that, then there's no God.
I'm relatively, I know, although I'm not a believer, I'm relatively familiar with Scripture. I don't want to. I used to say I know more about the Bible than most Christians, but that might be too arrogant to say. I think that's a claim. If the claim is true, then I guess look. If someone says they're going to rise from, I am God, and I'm going to prove it by rising from the dead, and then they do, and then they get killed, or sorry, I guess I shouldn't say that on TikTok, and then they do rise from the dead.
But
Okay, fine. That would be good evidence for God. That would indeed be good evidence. So
no, he rose himself from the dead.
sure. Well, whatever it is, whether he did it or God, the Father did, whatever. If someone says, "I'm God," I'm going to prove it by rising from the dead, which is something that's quite frankly, quote unquote, we'll use the word impossible as far as the laws of physics and all of that. Okay, fine. That would be pretty good evidence that okay, maybe there's something to this thing like him being God. So, but
that claims to be the truth.
Sure. Well, that's a little fuzzy for me because statements.
The problem is I actually presented good evidence to you, Aaron. I presented a transcendental proof. And so now you would actually have the burden to show that like the godless model of reality is correct. And you can't. You don't have any evidence.
The godless would be very, very easy. I'm not saying that I know that it's true.
Aaron,
it would look like this.
Aaron, you could not rationally defend a godless model of reality.
Absolutely, you could, and here's how.
Okay.
It's very, very easy. I'm not saying that this is true, because it could be. I'll tell you what it is, though.
Aaron, Aaron, admit your position's irrational.
That's absolutely not. You have
prove that materialism is true. Aaron,
absolutely.
What's absolutely the proof that materialism is true?
Because first of all, we know that, nature exists. You and I admitted that. B, you say there's something beyond that. I'm saying I don't believe it. Now, the proof so far, if you want to use proof, I don't like to use the word proof at all, first of all, anyway. I don't think anyone can prove damn near anything, to be honest. So I don't like the word proof. But we both agree that nature exists. Everyone agrees that nature exists. We can't prove we're not in a matrix. We can't prove, so, but I believe nature.
I can prove I'm not in the matrix.
Well,
don't put your problems onto me. So go ahead.
If you can prove that you're not in a matrix, then you should present that to.
I told you God's revelation. Did you not? Did you forget that conversation?
No, but that's not something that convinces everybody. I know it convinces.
But Aaron, proof and being convinced are not the same thing. Okay, so it doesn't matter that you're not convinced. Okay,
the facts don't care about my feelings or our opinions. Facts don't care about your feelings or opinions. Facts don't care. We have to figure out who's right.
Exactly, right. And just because you've determined on which basis, like what authority could you say that the Bible's not authority? You have no basis to say that Revelation isn't a proof.
Well, if Revelation is discovered to be true, then fine, so be it.
Aaron,
that's still not.
Aaron, are you not getting? Aaron, do you process information more slowly than other people?
So in a godless model, you'd have something like a say, for example, a quantum field, because we are determining not we scientists.
Aaron, why are you?
I'm telling you how it makes sense in a godless world.
Aaron,
you asked. I'm trying to answer. Trying to answer your question.
But you can't. You're lying.
Yes, I can. How do you know if I haven't answered it?
Because I've done research on this topic. And you're a low information person, Aaron.
So there is,
Aaron,
I'm going to answer your question. You asked a question.
You cannot. You're bullshitting.
Well, if you'll never know, because you'll never know if I'm bullshitting.
No, Aaron, I know. Okay, quantum fields is not an answer to anything. Okay, materialism is a metaphysical claim.
Yeah, but the problem is we know they
Aaron,
exist.
Aaron, materialism is a metaphysical claim. On what basis could you make a metaphysical claim?
I will tell
Science
you what the
makes
basis.
metaphysical
I will
claims.
tell you the basis. The basis is that quantum fields
Aaron,
appear
that's a lie. Aaron,
it's
you're
not.
lying to me. Yes, it
We
is. Science.
we see
Aaron,
them we look at them in a lab.
that's
It's not
not a
live.
that's not a metaphysical claim, Aaron.
Yes, it
Why are you
absolutely
fucking
is.
lying?
Metaphysical is only saying that this metaphysical thing or fact, there's nothing beyond it.
Aaron,
That's metaphysical.
Aaron, materialism is a metaphysical claim.
So be it.
But you
I don't
can
have any
prove it.
problem with that. So
You said you can prove it, but science doesn't prove metaphysical claims. Quantum fields doesn't prove materialism.
I'm talking about the best. Okay, look, the God theory is a theory. The quantum field theory is a
God
theory.
is not a
Everything
theory.
is a theory.
God is not a theory.
Okay.
This is what you don't understand, Aaron. You're complete. You completely do not understand.
Facts don't care about your feelings or your opinions.
Yeah, but this is going beyond you. Like you're missing what's happening here.
You're making statements as if they're facts. Facts don't care about your opinions. If it comes out where it is proven one day,
but you
then
don't
you'll be on
have
stronger
facts. Aaron, you don't have facts. God is necessary for
nature
facts.
exists. That is a fact. Quantum fields exist. That is a fact. I do have facts.
You don't have facts, Aaron.
But nature isn't a fact.
You can't say anything is a fact because you've rejected God, remember?
I just did. Nature is a fact. Boom. I just proved nature is a fact.
Ultimately your opinion. That's just your opinion.
No. That isn't
okay,
that part.
Okay,
isn't.
Aaron.
I have
Aaron,
opinion, but that one isn't one.
Ultimately, it's either the mind of God first rationalizes facts or the mind of man first rationalizes facts. And if you say the mind of man first rationalizes facts, which is you have staked out as your position, then ultimately every fact is based on an opinion.
No, not opinion.
Yes.
Not opinion. Facts aren't based on opinion. Facts
yes,
are
they
verified.
are in your system.
Facts are verified. They facts are what give.
Does God's mind ultimately determine what's a fact, or does the mind of man ultimately determine what's a fact?
What determines what something's a fact is things
Aaron,
like verification, novel testable predictions.
Aaron, ultimately, is it the mind of God or the mind of man that determines a fact?
Neither.
Okay, well, I'm just going to move on because you're low information and you're arrogant and ignorant. Okay, Aaron?
Thanks
for coming.
Okay.
You know nothing.
Okay.
Yeah, laugh. God, what a maroon. Oh, crap.
Hey, morning.
Good morning.
So, I'm going to continue with where he left off a little bit, because you were asking about the mind of God and the mind of man. He was actually right. It's neither. The idea is that a fact is something...
Stop. I'm not having this low information nonsense, okay? In an ultimate context, ultimately, what is a fact is either going to be first rationalized by the mind of God or the mind of man. That's it. There's no other option.
Yes, there is.
What's the other option?
The other option is simply that the facts already existed and that humans use our own logic to try and explain.
Fucking liars! Just lie. Just come up here and fucking lie to me. God, this is so frustrating.
Wow.
I can't. They don't know. They have no idea what they're talking about. The guy is total brainlet. No idea what he's talking about.
Wow.
Oh my God. Oh.
They love lying.
It's so annoying. It's so frustrating. Holy crap. Oh my gosh. Either ultimately it's the mind of God that first rationalizes facts or the mind of man first rationalizes facts. So if you go with the mind of man, guess what? Your whole system is arbitrary. It's based on an opinion. Atheism can't have any facts. All it has is people's opinions. Just goofy. Like, it's so obvious. How do you independently evaluate and interpret reality without the mind of God? Because if there's no other minds, if there's no mind of God, then all we have is human minds. I mean, this is what other mind is there? We haven't met any aliens yet that are like rational.
Now that makes sense. That's why there can be no excluded mind, excluded middle mind. They believe in the law and excluded middle.
Yeah, what did that guy start? He started appealing to logic. Well, who determines like what's correct logic? Is it the mind of God or the mind of man?
Right. I like your question the other day on your meme. Is logic real? Remember your meme? And then the atheist gets cooked because he doesn't know how to defend it. Is logic real?
That's how we prove God, right? Because they want to say, what, prove God using logic? And then we just go, is logic real? What, prove God using logic? And then we just go, is logic real?
Yeah. Yeah, I tried that out the other day on a live. It was funny.
What would logic refer to in the natural world?
That's a good question. I don't know.
And in a material model reality, what is logic? It's what? Molecules? Quantum fields?
Now, what is this quantum fields people keep bringing up? What is that? I don't know that stuff.
I don't know, and I don't want to learn.
Yeah.
Because quantum physics is all like up in the air. It's
So
nothing
just
like
kind of like a fake god or something.
I don't know. It's worshiping the creation.
No.
When we don't worship God, we worship the creation. So that's like science and evolution, transhumanism.
Yeah, like that.
So everyone just ignored my argument.
They did.
Of course, every time.
Well, then he said something about if we could just measure the supernatural. The prior guy. You know, it's like, wait, you're into scientism? Because that's what determines all that can and cannot be? Only because you can measure supernatural? How can you measure a floating axe or someone walking on water? Like, how can you measure Jesus Christ raising from the dead? Like, I don't know how you measure that.
There's no way they can defend atheism. That guy's like acting like he can defend atheism. It's like such a joke, man.
Mm-hmm. It's really funny though. He kept saying facts doesn't care about your feelings. I'm like, okay, that's right. So get in line with the truth, and then your feelings will be correct. God is what determines reality. All that can and cannot be. Our feelings are in alignment. It's crazy. Isn't this kind of the argument about morality too? Like, morality is just subjective, it's not objective. Because if morality was subjective, then anything could be okay as long as it just fits your opinion.
If morality is subjective, that would actually destroy truth entirely. Nothing.
Yeah.
Because
Hmm.
to say something's true, for one, to get moral claims, we need universals. So that's an epistemic issue. And then to make truth claims, we need ethics. We need objective oughts, epistemic virtues.
Right. And then those all come from God, who's the moral
Yes,
autonomy.
God is the absolute.
He's the moral autonomy. Yeah.
Yes. Well, welcome, Josh.
What's up? What's up? What's up? Yeah, I guess just to kind of tie in, I mean, if we have morality as just being subjective, then there's nothing wrong to say that, Hitler was right.
You can't say that
Yeah.
word.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hitler.
Did you kick him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see my story about like this kid?
What does it say? You know what I hate? All
Don't
these.
repeat
Wow. No, I didn't.
So this kid, this is like 5 years ago. He went into a classroom and tried to unalive people because he was like all into Satanism and he was demonic.
Really?
Yeah. This guy, a Christian, Kendrick Castillo, a Christian. So the guy walks into the classroom with the pew pew, and Kendrick Castillo charged him. Kendrick Castillo, a young Christian, and he saved the life of all of his friends and classmates.
Wow.
He unfortunately sacrificed himself but he sacrificed himself so his friends could live. And
Wow.
that's the love of God right there. That's what Jesus did for us. He sacrificed himself
That's awesome.
so God could live. Yeah, this kid's a legend.
Wow, dude.
That's
awesome.
That's what the Bible says, right?
Yeah.
John 15:13. There's no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friends.
That's crazy. Love that.
Oh, I'm up.
Welcome, Connor.
What is up, Priest-up? How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Getting by.
Nice.
Yeah, it's been definitely been a chaotic weekend to say the least.
So, what would you like to say?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what you're gonna kick me for this time.
Probably being dishonest, prevarication.
No. So that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to try to be as honest as I possibly can. I'm gonna be honest towards you, and as well through anything I say.
Be honest. Are you like an atheist?
Well, yeah, you know this precept. I've been on your lives before.
Right. So, like, can't you just be honest and be like, look, my position is based on emotions, not like evidence?
How is it? Because, I mean, I don't believe it's based on emotions. How would you say that it's based upon emotions?
Because there's no evidence for it.
How is there no evidence for it?
You can't prove the godless model of reality.
How so?
What do you mean, how so? You'd have to prove that materialism is true, which you couldn't do. Or you'd have to prove that there's immaterial beings, or there's, these immaterial beings, but the immaterial beings are not God. I don't think you could do that either.
Okay, what do you mean by immaterial beings? Like higher other dimensional powers, or what do you mean?
Like, yeah, basically, I guess.
I mean, I don't believe in higher dimensional powers that constructed or set forth
Okay, so you'd
The
have to
law
prove
proves it.
materialism. So how the fuck will you prove materialism? You can't do that. Why
What do you mean
can't
by materialism?
What?
Well, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. What do you mean by materialism?
That there's nothing supernatural. All there is the material world.
Yeah, I mean, I believe in that.
Yeah, but you can't prove that, right? You just believe it on blind faith.
How can I not? How are you not able to prove that? So what grounding does that statement have?
So why does he just keep asking questions and not proving anything?
Yeah, can you
No,
prove materialism?
no, I'm trying to
That's your
be
position.
You're not being honest. You just don't have any proof.
There we go. All right. So the reason I don't believe in a higher power or higher dimensional beings creating and set forth laws that we observe and
Doesn't prove.
understand.
You're
Let me
just
finish.
giving emotional damage
Let him
reasons.
talk.
Okay. All right. Hey, Tab, do you believe that you have free will as a Christian?
Move forward. Don't doubt
Wait, you were
yourself.
just wait. Focus. You were gonna say, what's your defense for your position?
That there's no plausible or empirical evidence to prove the otherwise?
Okay, yeah, but that's just restating your position.
I mean, I believe in materialism because as humans, we begin to understand things that we thought to have been magic or spiritual, but it turns out it was just a form of science we didn't understand yet. Such as medicine or
You believe
physics.
materialism is true because of God of the gaps?
What do you mean by that?
That's what you just said. What do you mean, what do I mean? That's what you said.
No. I know what I said. I'm just like, what do you mean by that phrase?
I was repeating I was steel manning what you said.
Well, yeah, I know, but you inserted a phrase that I didn't say, and I'm unfamiliar with the phrase, so I'm just asking what you
God
meant.
of the gaps is like we observe something and we can't explain what we observed, therefore God did it.
Yeah, I don't believe that. No.
Yeah. You're the one arguing it.
I said no.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
I didn't say.
Oh my God!
Therefore, God
Look,
did it.
Can you just please
go.
provide
There we
evidence or some shit for your materialism, please?
Okay, we used to believe that practices of medicine.
Okay, thanks for coming. I'm looking.
There we go. I'm getting kicked.
Yeah. I mean, you're not fucking providing evidence for your stupid position.
You can't provide evidence for your position either. There we go. About to get kicked. What I said.
What is wrong with people? Why can't you just he said he was going to be honest.
Yeah.
He said, I'm going to be honest. Where's your freaking evidence? Go to the gaps. Therefore, materialism. That is nuts. That's a non sequitur. Even if, that's like, oh my God, the moon is made of cheese, therefore gravity. Like, let's just say goofy shit. Why are you kicking me? Why can't I say goofy shit? Why you kick me? I want to say goofy things. Let me be goofy.
My name's Goofy.
Dude, they think this is like debate is like come up and tell jokes or something.
You're the only comedian here.
Yeah, only I am allowed to be funny. That's what Conan O'Brien said to Bart Simpson. You want to debate? What human language do snakes speak? If you ever hear an atheist speaking, that's what it sounds like when a snake speaks.
It's funny.
Why would you think I support slavery?
We support servitude.
Look how goofy these people are. I support slavery.
Servitude.
Why do you think slavery is bad? Because you're in a Christian society with Christian values that's told you slavery was bad.
Yeah. It's ironic how they twist their
Read the
words.
Bible. You support slavery. 1 Peter 2:18. Oh, really? What does 1 Peter say?
It's probably something about I call him a servant or something, or Peter's a servant or something
Oh,
like
yes.
that.
Slaves, in reverent fear of God, submit yourself to your masters, not only to those who are good and considerate, but also to those who are harsh. Oh, wow. Wow. I read my Bible. What does the Bible say about freedom though? Galatians 5:1. For freedom Christ has set us free. Stand firm therefore, and do not submit again to a yoke of slavery. Have you read Galatians 5:1? Have you read 2 Corinthians 3:17? Now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom.
How about you're not supposed to serve both God and money? You can only be if you be devoted to one and hate the other, or despise one and despise the other, or love the other.
Galatians 5:13. For you were called to freedom, brothers. Only do not use your freedom as an opportunity for the flesh, but through love serve one another.
Yeah.
1 Peter 2:16. Live as people who are free, not using your freedom as a cover up for evil, but living as servants of God. Live as people who are free. Wait, that isn't that from the same letter that you quoted?
Yeah.
So right before the verse he quoted, 1 Peter 2:16, 1 Peter 2 or yeah, he quoted 1 Peter 2:18, but did you read 1 Peter 2:16? Live as people who are free, not using your freedom as a cover up for evil, but living as servants of God. Did you read that part?
Mm-hmm.
But not freedom for everyone.
Yeah, he has to understand at that time there were people that were slaves to other people, and he was teaching them to be free, but those who were still underneath the contract of slavery, we have to be Christ-like to those masters so that we might win them over, even the harsh ones.
John 8:36. So if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Isaiah 61:1. The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to those who are bound.
Mm-hmm.
Romans 6:22. But now that you have been set free from sin and have become servants of God, the fruit you get leads to sanctification and its end, eternal life.
Mm-hmm.
John 8:32, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free.
Yep. Well, what's crazy is we go from being slaves to sin, because he's trying to say, what's it like to live purposely in sin? In Romans chapter 7, it talks about being slaves to sin, and then now we're slaves to God. So we're actually able to be in enjoyment and freedom towards God. So we can live in a life of sin.
Yeah, how do you explain all these quotes? How do you explain all these verses I'm quoting, Little Miss Punshine? Welcome, Mango.
Hello.
Welcome. Are you an adult?
Yeah, I am an adult.
Okay.
What's your age?
29.
What would you like to say?
There are no atheists in foxholes.
True.
Am I right? Am I right or am I right?
You're right. They're cowards.
Let's see. Only Christians can make truth claims. To deny the Bible is to deny science itself. No God, no logic.
Yes.
Let me ask you guys a question. Since Aristotle, Socrates, Plato were before God, do you think now, like, okay, in the timeline they came
Oh
before
God.
God, and
They weren't
God,
before God. What are you talking about?
Jesus, Jesus,
What?
and and
How?
Say
and
your
and,
statement again, because I completely
They
went
were
over.
Jesus
and the view,
existed before he incarnated.
in the view of Christians, Jesus is God, right? So,
Hold
quote
on,
unquote.
hold on, dude. Just address his question.
Yeah, let me just say my question. So
No, 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 no,
Aristotle,
no, 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 no.
Plato.
I'm talking about you listening to Precept. Did you hear him say Jesus existed before 2,000 years ago?
I couldn't even get the question out.
No, you made a statement, a claim that we need to correct you on. So Jesus said, "Before Abraham, I was," and he wasn't even 50 years old. So how long has Jesus been around if he existed more than 2,000 years ago?
Uh, what?
So if Jesus existed 2,000 years ago and he said, "Before Abraham, I was," and then people around him heard him say it and they said, "You're not even 50 years old. How were you before Abraham?" Answer the question. How long has Jesus been around?
What verse is that?
You'd have to Google it. But he was talking to people
Before
around him.
Abraham, I am.
Yeah.
Before Abraham, I am. Because I've heard one that's like,
Well, there's John 8:58 that says, "I am," which is the same thing when he was talking. Jesus was talking to Moses in the burning bush, and he sent Moses, and he said, "Who shall I say sent me? I am who I am. I am." Right? So that's Jesus in the burning bush. He's also talking to Abraham when he's talking about destroying Lot and Sodom. He's also in the Garden of Eden talking to Adam and Eve. So how long has Jesus been around?
oh, um, you mean
And in
Moses?
John chapter 1, verse 1, it says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and he
Right.
was with God in the beginning." So how long has Jesus been around? Because the Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us, John 1:14. So how long has Jesus been around? Would it be 2,000 years? Let me give you a multiple choice answer.
Sure.
Either A, Jesus has only been around 2,000 years, or Jesus has been around forever from the Alpha and Omega. Like in Revelations, he says, "I'm the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end." So has he been around forever, or has he been around for 2,000 years? Those are only two answers based on what you just came up with.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the answer? I didn't hear you say it.
Um, I don't know.
It'd be forever because he's God and he became flesh.
Right.
And Philippians chapter 2 says, "Although he existed in the form of God, he humbled himself and became a man." Now, if you're talking
I,
about Jesus the
I thought
man,
you were talking about Moses in Exodus.
no, Jesus talked to Moses in the burning bush. Jesus talked to Abraham when he was going to destroy, as an angel of the Lord, he was going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. Jesus talked to Adam and Eve. He was walking with them in the cool of the garden. And he's
Right.
also the promised seed that came to crush the serpent's head when God cursed the serpent. So Jesus is just the flesh. If we read 1 John 4, it says that if anyone does not believe Jesus has come in the flesh from God, he has the spirit of the Antichrist. By this you know who has the spirit of error and the spirit of truth. Do you have the spirit of error or the spirit of truth? You believe Jesus has come in the flesh from God or not?
If that's a direct question, yes. Yeah.
Jesus is come in the flesh from God, right? From the Father.
Right.
So if he's always proceeded from the Father, right? He's always been with God, the Father. Jesus is just in the flesh only 2,000 years ago, but he's always existed.
Hmm.
So he isn't just 2,000 years ago, as you previously stated.
Right. So, like, if I say God is in me, right, and I'm 29 years old, doesn't mean God's 29 years old. It means God's, like, eternal. Even if Jesus was born 2025 years ago, doesn't mean God himself is 2025 years old.
What are you saying?
That's
I'm not trying to understand your
yeah.
question.
But can I make my question because it's been 10 minutes?
Dude,
I was gonna ask a question. So Socrates, Plato, Aristotle are from before the existence of Jesus, and in Christian views, Jesus is God, right? So we have Aristotle, Plato, Socrates,
They're
and then
not.
we have Jesus. I don't know, would that consider them to be in hell? Like, because these guys were pretty good philosophers. They thought logically, they used reason, but they came before Jesus. Like, do you know what I mean?
Jesus was here before.
They didn't. He's saying they came before Jesus' incarnation.
I
No,
don't know.
before he was even like he
Argument.
existed, dude.
No, Jesus is eternal.
Right? No, but
Always.
the human flesh, Jesus, like Yahweh, like the
Yeah.
one we know,
So,
right?
we don't know. We don't know who's in hell or what. That hasn't even happened yet. That's on Judgment Day.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Johnny Cash. Cash and no. With Dante's Inferno claims you're in limbo. Nice. That's nice.
Okay. What?
Yeah. He understood my question. Because we have Aristotle, we have Plato that came before, like
Oh my God. Okay. Yes, people
the
came
years
before
the year
Christ.
zero.
Yes, we understand that people lived before Christ, but Judgment Day hasn't happened yet, so we don't know.
There's going to be hell
That
and
is in the
Hades
flesh.
thrown into the lake of fire in Revelation chapter 20. So those whose names were not in the book of life are thrown into the lake of fire. So that is the ultimate judgment. But right now, they're in hell. And previously, before this, they were in hell. So, and do you know what hell is? Hell is created for Satan and his angels, the abyss. That's what the angels were always afraid of when they saw Jesus physically, that he was going to throw them into the abyss. So the abyss existed before Jesus being incarnate.
What are you talking about?
So the abyss is what the demons were afraid of when they saw him before they were thrown into the abyss.
Ben, do you want to join? Do you have any other questions, Naomi? Or someone else requesting?
No, that's it. That's all I wanted to say.
What was your point? I don't
Yeah,
get it.
oh, man,
That's weird.
he's trying to say that like people existed before Jesus, therefore like they wouldn't be saved by Jesus or something like that. I don't know. Oh, Finn.
Yeah, we've been promised Jesus since the Garden of Eden.
Finn dipped out. Why does Yahweh have a wife? What do you? Yahweh has a wife? What is he talking about?
Oh,
Is he talking about like the Canaanite version of Yahweh or something?
they have like
What he's doing.
all sorts of like weird things, like
He's doing
Jesus
the
had wives.
he's doing the Canaanite. Oh, Yahweh is a Canaanite storm god or mountain god or something.
Yeah, all these false gods. He's trying to sneak these in.
I don't understand why would that be relevant at all? That's just like a genetic fallacy. The origin, we justify a claim by the claim's merits, not by the claim's origin. We know that there are like Egyptian, Babylonian texts inserted into the Bible.
Well, notice how that guy did not admit that Jesus existed forever. His point, he wanted to limit him to only
He wasn't trying to talk about that. He was trying to talk about when Jesus died for our sins, did he die for the sins of the people that existed before Jesus? That's what I think he's trying to ask.
Oh, okay. So, yes, the answer would be he died for the sins existing before. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's why he went down with the keys of Hades. You know what I'm saying? Hades?
He wanted to know if those people were in hell, but I was saying like Judgment Day hasn't happened yet. Judgment Day is in the future, and that's when God will resurrect the dead and judge everyone, and then separate the wheat from the chaff and all that. That happens on Judgment Day. I think right now there's like an abode of shades or something like that. There's some like realm of shades. I don't know. I kind of think of like soul sleep. I think like you die and you're just like it's like when you go to sleep and then you wake up and you're being judged.
Well, there's that, and I understand that, but I don't necessarily believe that. But like, because Paul tells us we can't believe that because he says to be dead is to be present with the Lord. That's why he's torn. Does he go down between heaven and hell? Or you know what I mean? Not heaven and hell. Sorry, to be with him, absent from the bodies, to be present with the Lord. So we wouldn't be able to say soul sleep works, right? Unless we disagree with Paul.
I'm pretty sure soul sleep is what Paul believed. That's what I read.
No, I get that a lot. I hear that a lot. But no, it's absent from the body, present with the Lord. So you wouldn't be just hanging. You would be in, well, like, okay, tell the criminal on the cross that he's still sleeping. He says, today you'll see me in paradise. So when he died on the cross, remember?
Yeah.
So he says, truly, truly, I say to you, you'll be in paradise. So if he sees him, he's not asleep. So yeah, he can't, you know what I mean? He's not with his own body, but the resurrection is when he brings all of us back in our own bodies, and then like he throws those with the good deeds in Revelation chapter 20.
John 3:13 says, "No one has ascended into heaven except he who has descended from heaven, the Son of Man."
Yeah, that'd be Jesus descending from heaven down to earth. So no one's gone up into heaven. What he's talking about to tell what is authority, right? But I'm not saying there could have been a point in time before the 2000 years that the people were in limbo. Does that make sense? But not now. Not after the cross. Hold on.
The heck was that?
Yeah.
What's up, President?
Hey, what's going on? I was saying Enoch went directly to heaven along
Yeah, I know some people went directly to heaven, but I think that there's like an abode of the dead of like shades or something. What they call it, like Sheol.
I think being present with God is I don't think you can. I think all of these things are just like some symbolism in a lot of ways, and a lot of temporal notions that just we don't understand, to be honest, because I don't think you cannot be present with God, right? If God is all knowing, and He is omni. I don't think that. I don't think your essence can never technically be not present from God. I don't know if you can be aware of God. I don't know if you'll be aware of it, but you technically will be closer to God. Will always be next to God, right? Because even before the womb, like before He knew us, right? He still knew us, right? In that kind of way.
I think you're still describing like separation. I think God talks about an intimate relationship that he says, if anyone opens the door, I will come into him and eat with him and he with me. There is a presence that we exist. And if we read Revelation chapter 22, it talks about how there'll be no more sin. There'll be no more need for sun because God will be our light. It gives you a description of the New Jerusalem.
Yeah, I just think it goes both ways. I think you can be asleep You can be asleep and still technically in the presence of God.
Do you
But
think we're gonna die and go to heaven and be with him, or no?
yeah, I do. I just don't think it's gonna happen. I do believe it all happens at a certain like point, right? I don't think people get a head start to heaven. That's all I'm saying.
Wait, you just think we're asleep when we're dead?
Yeah, just asleep until Judgment Day. But you
But
wouldn't even know because you don't remember.
but
I
you
don't.
understand the judgment? Do you
We don't
understand?
remember. Yeah, yeah. My bad, go.
Do you understand judgment is what non-Christians face?
I'm sorry. Say it again. You said it's not Christian based.
No. Do you understand that judgment is what um, non-Christians face?
Judgment is what non-Christians face. Yeah.
But do you
No,
think
no. Well,
face
no.
judgment?
Judgment. I think judgment is what everybody faces.
No, no.
Yeah. Well, the way I look at it, I don't think anybody has a right to their. Nobody has a right to heaven with their own say. That's how I'm looking at that, right? Like you only get in if God allows you, right? It's His kingdom. So like nobody grants themselves access.
No, you get into heaven from God, right? But we can escape judgment as Christians because our the blood of Christ washed all our sins away. Now we don't have that judgment
Oh, okay.
pending.
I believe in works along with faith. I don't believe just in believing in Christ. And unless you obviously, I believe in believing in Christ is obviously enough. If you
Are
have
you
a like,
Catholic?
if you no, I'm not. If you have a disability, I guess yeah,
You
believe in
Catholic?
Christ. No, I'm not. I don't. I haven't picked my denomination yet like that. Um, it's just the way I look at certain things because I'm such a literalist. Like
I'm
if
a
you
Bible
just
verse.
let's say you're the laziest person in the world and you have so much ability to help people and only thing you did was believe in Christ and you
Why
helped
do you think works get you to heaven?
because if the only thing let's say you're the laziest person in life and the only thing you did was believe in Christ and you're rich, you're spoiled, you don't you
Okay,
don't
you
apply
think
any action. You don't apply any action of what you believe in
you think
outside of.
getting Christmas gifts is gonna get you to heaven or something?
I think there's obviously because
What about
let's say everybody sat around and just say I believe in God. Like where did
wait,
we would be in heaven already, right? Like it would be no need for this,
Antichrist, dude?
huh?
You're like Antichrist. Do you believe Jesus is God?
Of course, it's not Antichrist. You can't. What are you talking about? Like I'm
You
saying,
understand
if you believe,
totally the reason why God had to come and die, right?
it's a little bit of both though. It's not one thing. I didn't say
No,
it's
it's
one or
only
the other,
Jesus. When
huh?
Jesus says that I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no man comes to the Father except through me, how do you think it meant with that? Like, what's the gospel?
Yeah, you do know life is about both. It's about faith and works. Like why would it just be about faith
Dude,
like that?
dude,
Like
you,
just let's just think about this
hey,
logically.
in the flesh,
Let's say somebody says that I
someone's
accept
in the
Jesus Christ.
flesh.
Wait,
If
wait,
someone's
one
in the
one second.
flesh,
I
no,
have one.
I'm trying to expose your darkness here. So,
Wait. I just have
hold
one I
on,
have one question.
hold
If
on.
somebody
You
says
you
that they
think
believe
you're
in Christ,
righteous now?
No
if
reason to get
somebody
righteous tab.
if somebody says that they believe in Christ and they go on to unalive multiple people, are they still going into heaven? That's the easiest way to debunk
Like,
whatever the
did
hell.
God build a rock that is so heavy you can't lift? It's a
That's
dis.
not that's not true because we're not God. God is grounded to his like he's grounded
No,
by his
no,
by
you're
his
missing my point, buddy. Listen. So, number one, if that person's a Christian, the Bible tells those people are Christians that they no longer sin in First John chapter 4 or 3. Sorry, excuse me. So, a person that is a Christian no longer continues practicing sin because his seed abides in him.
you
This
cannot
is.
do that. You cannot not be sinful. It's impossible.
I
Yeah,
just
we're
quoted First
always.
John chapter 3, dude.
You
But
still
listen, what I'm talking
so
Is
about
are
it
you
is
chapter
saying
four? Or
anybody
chapter?
that gets so you saying everybody that gets into heaven is somebody that hasn't sinned since they accepted
no.
Christ?
Stay with the question. You said directly, and I'll
Oh,
repeat to you
Jesus Christ!
that
This is so
that
easy.
a
This is easy to follow,
so,
bro.
so if you are a Christian, it says the children of the devil are obvious and the children of God are obvious. Those who practice, when I say practice, unrighteousness, those are the children of the devil. Those who practice righteousness are children of God. So that's why I said this is like the same dishonest question that can God make a rock that is too heavy he can't lift? It's a question directly from Satan, because basically you're saying if a Christian is just like a Satanist, can he still get to heaven? The point is that they don't mix. It's oil and water. When Jesus Christ is inside you, his seed
I
abides.
say that you are saying something contradictory to your
No, your
depiction.
question was
No, I'm
designed
saying your definition
to
has
point
holes.
out your
Mine does
words
not. Your definition
are so.
contradicts that. Mine does not. Your
Neither does
definition
God.
literally says that a Christian just means accepting Christ, which I'm telling you that does not
Dude,
follow,
no.
because if that's your
This is not.
only if that is your
Listen,
only criteria of going into heaven, of just accepting Christ, that means
what does it mean to
actions
accept
do that
Christ?
means actions does
What does
not
it mean to
define
accept
that means
Christ?
actions does not define
What
what you are,
happens?
right? So that
What
means
is
I
the.
can accept Christ
No,
and move however I want, because the definition of a Christian is just accepting Christ.
no,
This
dude.
is how
I
words
would.
work,
No,
right?
you need to
So
be
no.
more.
So obviously there it has an expansion
Dude,
definition to it.
dude, you are over
Accepting
talking me.
Christ along with works would have to be
You're being
the way you get
emotional.
in, because everything we do in life is
Being
action based
emotional.
and work based.
You are being emotional. Listen.
I'm not
The
being emotional. I'm literally telling you
slow down.
the
Slow
logic of
down.
life, dude.
You and I
Hey,
don't
Tab.
agree. Yeah.
1 John 1 says, "If we claim to be without sin, we
Yes.
deceive ourselves, and the truth is not
Yeah.
in
Did
us."
I say practice righteousness, or did I say practice unrighteousness? The difference when that's the problem, what people are understanding when they read 1 John 3. They think, oh, they no longer sin. That's not what I'm saying. The difference is what gets us to heaven.
It has to be one or the other. The way that
Hold on.
you're picturing the dichotomy, you put it
Hold
as
on.
one or the other, and I'm not.
1 John 5:12 says you have the Son, you have the life. You don't have the Son, you don't have the life, right? 1 John 1:9 says if we confess our sins, he is faithful and just to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. Who's doing the cleansing? God, right? And then 1 John chapter 2 says if we do sin and we claim we have no sin, we make God out to be a liar. You got to read the whole book. Okay, you can't take one verse out of context when you read 1 John.
Yes,
So
that checks out. That checks out to my view, not yours.
so no, what you're saying is you're saying your works get you to heaven.
I'm not saying your works only. You can be a good person and not accept Christ. I don't think that you're getting into heaven like that. And I said two things, right? You have to believe in Christ along with doing things that put you in position to actually show that you're actually one with
Let's
Christ.
back up a little bit. Let's back up our conversation a bit. So first of all, becoming a Christian isn't just that you believe something, because the Bible says even the demons believe, right? And that there's one God and they shudder, right? Okay. So when you become a Christian, you become a brand new creation, right? And you have his seed, meaning Jesus Christ, abiding in you. So it's not that the works become your gateway to heaven. It's showing evidence that God is inside you and you produce works.
It could be both. You're making it a dichotomy that does not have to be. For what reason?
Dude, listen.
The only reason you would make that a dichotomy is if you're scared or
Prior
lazy,
to
or
your salvation.
it's
Listen,
only if you're scared or lazy, because that's the only two reasons you would say that I just need to accept Christ and that's the only thing I need to do, and actions does not matter at all. Because if you're going to delete actions, if you delete actions out of the purpose of being one with Christ, then that means you can do anything you want and still claim to be one with Christ. This is basic logic.
Would you stop for a moment? You're interrupting. I'm trying to explain to you. So when Jesus Christ was talking to Nicodemus, right? And Jesus says, you must be born again, right? In John chapter 3.
Mm-hmm.
What did that mean to be born again? So I'm saying that's the question you got to ask yourself.
Yes. Okay.
So when Jesus goes on and proceeds to say that John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his one and only son, that whoever believes in him should not perish.
That's what it means to be born again, to believe in
Hold on,
Christ and
hold
for to
on.
have the interaction with the Holy Spirit.
Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Go to John chapter 3, verse 17. It says, for God did not send his son to condemn the world, but to save the world. And it says, and then in John 3:18, he says, hold on a second, I gotta bring it up. I think it says, he who believes in me is not condemned. He who does not believe in me stands condemned already. Now, he didn't say anything about there. You also must go out there and produce works. That believing,
You know, a single line does never. You know, you can never take a single line out of the Bible and think that that means every single thing. That means every single thing in context applied to it. You can never do that.
Would you disagree with the Bible verse that says, "All your righteous acts are like filthy rags in the sight of the Lord"?
What?
Yeah, there's a Bible verse. Did you know that? It says that?
Yeah, the Bible has multiple verses. I would never look at one
verse.
verse.
Talking about women's feminine napkins. That's your righteousness when it comes to God. See, it talks about in Paul, he says,
thanks, Marcelo.
That's cool. Whoever
Hey, Finn, are you an atheist, or do you disagree with anything up here? Finn, are you there?
What?
Are you an adult?
Yeah.
How old are you?
18.
When were you born?
2006.
Okay. So do you disagree with anything up here?
Wait, let me try and read it real quick because it's cut off a bit. 1 second.
It is cut off, really?
No, just for me, like, I can't see like all the words.
Oh.
It's cut off for me too, like the iPhone at least, the left-hand side.
Like the numbers are cut off?
Yeah. A little bit of the left, a little bit of the right.
So where you said to deny the Bible is to deny science itself. What proof is there that the Bible, because the Bible's honestly a biased book, in my opinion. But
what proof is there for the Bible?
Yeah, like that all that exists.
The transcendental argument for God. So I would say that like God is necessary for proof. That we couldn't have proof without God, basically. So I wonder how to explain this. So like our mind to know the world, our mind has to be able to be put into contact with the world. And it wouldn't make sense without God that our mind could know the world, because we wouldn't be in contact with the world. Like unless, if you think of the world as like one puzzle piece, and you think of like our mind as another puzzle piece, and the puzzle pieces like have to connect so we can know the world. Imagine like two random puzzle pieces that you just take, like you have a billion puzzle pieces and you select two at random. They're never gonna like fit together. And so it's only if there's like intention and design behind the puzzle pieces that we could get them to like connect and fit together. And so like God's sort of necessary to organize everything. He designs our minds and he designs the world. He designs them and intends for them to connect to each other. And so to deny God is to deny that like foundational thing that makes it possible for us to know the world. So that's how I would prove God, is that I would say God is necessary for proof at all, for knowledge at all. So we don't reason to God's existence, but we reason from God's existence. It is only because God exists that we can be rational and use logic and prove things are true. Does that make sense? Or it probably doesn't.
Yeah, it does.
It does. What does that say? Hello? You muted yourself.
Sorry, my dog's barking, so just 1 minute.
No worries. For the grace and works discussion, I don't think it has to be like a either or type thing. I think of it as like,
Yeah, I was just trying to argue that the fact that your works don't save you, right? What happens is the result of your salvation. If he's saying that salvation is a part of your works, then why did God have to die? Because what happens is we see that the law was given to Jerusalem, and Paul says that they tried to attain their righteousness in Romans chapter 2 through works and all the obedience of the simple laws. They could not fulfill the law to perfection. And
yeah, but
Jesus,
it's not like a one or the other. It's like we're saved by the grace of God, but then we're to
right.
work out our salvation because
Yeah,
God
PRs. You don't see it that way, bro. Like I'm
see what
like
way.
like it's a
I'm
little bit
trying
of
to
both.
That's what I'm saying. We're
Yeah.
saved by the grace of God, but then we're to work out the salvation because God changes our heart, then
Right.
that changes our works.
And I always think you always have free will because like I said, look at Lucifer and how he fell
Free will.
from
Well,
heaven, right? Like so, like obviously accepting Christ and knowing God is
see,
real, uh, alone doesn't save you completely because he always values free will, right? Even in heaven.
well, I
So
wouldn't no. See, I would think free will is a result of the fall, and that in Christianity, freedom is obeying the will of God. God's the free one, and obeying His will, we
well,
achieve
yeah,
freedom.
well, I think nobody has free will ever. That's not possible. But
Being
because
able to
God,
make, being able to choose from A or B, that's okay.
yes, exactly. We never have free will, so I'll take that off the clock. But when I mean like being able to
Well,
choose, see value.
we do have like a free will because our choices do affect the future.
Exactly. Yeah, I know what you mean. The free choice thing. I agree with that. Like we're like free will and like we can't. I can't. I'm not Magneto. Like I can't just pick up a laptop and just fling it across like reality, right? Like I need to follow certain guides and laws in order to do certain things. I can't walk on water, right? So technically I can't do anything that I want, right?
Yeah.
So I have free choice within the dynamics and parameters that I'm given.
So
And
here's my argument, real quick. If you look at Romans chapter 7, he talks about this slavery to sin. Okay, so that was what we were before we believed in Christ. We're our only innate behavior. That'd be like all the atheists. That he describes everybody as being not able to please God. They're haters of God. They have no fear of God. And then God gives us a heart of flesh so that we can work out, like, if you want to call your workout your salvation, that's fine. I don't necessarily believe that
yeah.
verse
Mm-hmm.
purpose. But what I'm saying is it's not it's a result of you being saved. It has no part in your salvation because I'm trying to explain to you, if I want to spit it out real quickly, that Jesus lived the righteous life that gets you into heaven. He's the one who had no sin
Yeah.
that became sin for us. So he
So are
died.
you, your opinion, that's what I'm saying. You have to see the crossroads of what you're saying. Are you a universalist with like Unitarian? So it's like if you're saying this, then you're saying that like the actions of this planet has no bearing on the access to heaven except for
You
just
you
saying
have
that.
an just to let me spit it out for a minute because it's like you want to interrupt or interject without listening.
Go
So
ahead.
what
Go
I'm
ahead, bro.
so what I'm saying is, okay, when Jesus Christ, okay, let's go back to Abraham. Abraham believed God, and it was credited to him as righteousness. Yes.
Hello. Precept Mars makes sense. You can't debate only precept.
Sorry, my wife's just calling for coffee, so I got to bring her coffee. But this one, I'm saying. You don't get saved because of your righteousness. You get saved because of Christ's righteousness, which he performed for you. And then he is the one who's that perfect sacrifice that gives that gift of salvation. And then you are able to be slaves to God, be free to God, to be able to obey him. You couldn't obey him before because of your sin nature. And now you have to become born again. And that's all I'm saying. But you know, your works don't count.
We're not even in disagreement. So like, I don't even get like.
Well, I think he is. I think he says you have to work plus believe.
Well, yeah, of course you do. You can't just be saved by the grace of God and then do nothing.
Yeah,
I'm not asking you to do nothing. I'm not asking you to do nothing. Listen.
So if it's not do nothing, that means it's works. That's literally
You have to do like
something, right? So that's a work.
You have to be in the world, not of the world. So you have to like work out love others in the world.
That Christ's work was not enough to save us. That you have to do your works too. And that's
yes, you do. You do have to do your part.
God designs works for us to do. If you don't do God's works, he's not gonna
he would just do everything himself then. Like he don't need us to
listen, it says God prepared the work for us to do, which he will complete until the day of
salvation. He can just make robots if he just want people to just work. Like
no. Well, I gotta go. We gotta have this discussion later, but I will talk to you later, guys. I gotta get my wife some coffee and go to church. You guys have a good day.
All right, where were we talking, Finn? I don't remember where we were at. Finn, are you there? Oh, I think I gave you the transcendental argument. Yeah, that like God's necessary for proof. Yeah, so we'd have a transcendental proof that God exists, where we would say that like by virtue of the fact that like science is possible, or that we can make arguments and do math equations, that this necessitates some sort of like conceptual order and a natural order, and that in the worldview where God creates the world, endows it with order, it makes sense. If there's no order, no God, then you have chaos.
Like transcendental alone as a word is outside of time. You like it transcends time. Like you can't get to transit outside of like transitioning through a dimension. Like transcendental, as soon as you say that, that means that these concepts transcend time itself, like which is the absolute truth, because he is the absolute.
They're not transcending time. They would transcend like sense data and reason or something like that.
Yeah,
things that are beyond our science and our philosophy to know.
Yeah.
Are you there, Finn?
Yeah.
Do you have anything to say, or?
I'm trying to think of something.
Well, there's another guy requesting up too.
Finally, oh my lord.
What would you like to say?
What I'd like to say, number one, Finn asked you specifically to prove if the Bible was true or the Bible was real. You specifically tried to prove whether or not God existed. That's not proving if the Bible is real. Therefore, your claim was not based in like the actual question that was given to you. Number two, your transcendental argument, like if you want me to read the actual one and everything, what you gave was a presuppositional argument that something is necessary for this thing, but you never gave why it's necessary for that thing to be that thing. You didn't give that. The transcendental argument does exist, and I do also agree that it is more likely that God exists, but that is not what you gave right there. You just presuppose your entire points. So it wasn't really following or tracking whatsoever. So you weren't even able to prove that, God exists correctly with the argument that you're supposed to. If you want to pull up the actual transcendental argument, I'll pull it up and I'll read it out to you.
The transcendental argument for God does prove the Bible, because the argument comes from the Bible. and it's based on the claims of the Bible. So
It's based on the claim that a God exists. That's specifically what you're trying to prove. You're not trying to prove that any specific God exists. You're proving that a God exists. That's why it's the transcendental argument and not something that is considered to be the Catholic or biblical
Okay.
argument.
I don't need a community college lecture from people who don't read. Okay.
I've read the Bible fully and I know the actual argument.
I've studied the transcendental argument for God. Okay. So
Then why didn't you say it correctly?
I know what I'm
over. Why are you getting mad?
I'm going to kick you if you don't cooperate.
Of course you are. You can't argue.
Okay.
I told you guys.
Thanks for coming. Have a nice day.
Exactly. Too easy.
Exactly. Too easy. Yeah, you're the best. Well, if I just misbehave myself, I win every argument because the moderator's forced to kick me. The guy doesn't know what he's talking about. It doesn't prove transcendental argument for God doesn't prove some generic God. It specifically proves the Christian God. And so I don't need a lecture from people that don't read, okay? Thanks, but no thanks. Good Lord. Yeah. Get a little humility, Eden. Welcome, baby blue. She probably accidentally requested. There's no hate like Christian love. Oh really? Well, what about this guy? He had the same mentality as you, right? Guess what he did? He went to a school and tried to unalive people. How does it feel that this mentality, there's no hate like Christian love, break? Do you know that you have the same mentality as this guy that went and tried to unalive people in a school 5 years ago at STEM? And because one child was a badass hero legend, Kendrick Castillo, this guy was a Christian and not a Satanist like the other guy. This Christian saved a bunch of lives that day. I guess I'm gonna have to redo my backgrounds if they're cut off. I thought they were like perfectly on there. What's up, Brocco?
Nothing. Just enjoying my beautiful Sunday. Just trying to live, love, laugh, and learn. You know what the white people's bathroom say. I'm not trying to hate on Christians at all. But if you look in history, at any bit of history of how the Christians treat people is never with any kind of love that they're supposed to be preaching. If you're not a Christian, then you're not, then nobody loved, then you're not allowed to be loved. But
that's not true. There's like the Red Cross is a humanitarian organization that helps people regardless if they're Christian or not. Christians believe,
and they also take advantage of people just like Christians do.
This is you're just a bigot, dude. Because this is
not. How am I a bigot? I'm not a bigot because I love Christians. I don't hate Christians at all. You hate.
Well, then why are you just misrepresenting reality? Christians don't only help. You're and you're not even letting me talk.
Okay, I apologize. I am sorry for that. Go ahead.
Christians don't only help Christians; they help everyone. They believe in a life of service and love to others.
Unless you don't go to their church.
I've
gone to so many churches asking for help, and they said they would not do nothing for me because I'm not a part of their church. I have gone to church. I've done the whole thing. I've done it.
They literally build freaking hospitals that help everyone. They don't specifically help Christians. That's not true.
But okay, I'm.
They feed. When I was in Catholic church as a kid, on Christmas we would feed the homeless people every year. We didn't go like, "Oh, are you Christian, homeless person? Oh, you're not Christian? Get the hell out of here."
Okay, that's super awesome, and I appreciate that part of it. But how many times do you hear that that people that just because you don't believe, then you're below them. I have heard that so many times. I've gone to so many churches. I've been to so many things. I believed with all of my whole heart that there was nothing that could change my faith until I actually started to actually hear what these people are saying. And it's all about the only thing that I've come to the conclusion in my heart is that church is just for show. People only go for show. They don't actually go for the good. They're only doing it on the Sunday to show that, oh, he goes to church on Sunday. He's a good person. I have I am so sick of that part of it. I
Jesus
wish
talked
that it
about
was. I
Jesus
wish
talked
that
about people like that. What do you?
yeah, and then y'all all became that person. So
Yeah.
I
So the Bible. I mean, people are corrupt. We're in a fallen
I
state.
don't, I
So,
don't, I don't, I
you're like
cannot believe in the Bible at all. It's
dude.
been revised entirely too many times, and there's too many things that have been taken out and added in. And
You're just not realistic. That's not
oh,
true.
absolutely, I'm
That's not
realistic
true.
because I know that I have more free will than you ever will. Because you
Okay.
do shit out of because you're afraid to go to hell. I do shit
Well,
because it's good and because it makes me feel better.
you don't have any hope, man. So you don't have freedom. You need
No,
hope.
I do not have hope. My 3-year-old daughter had cancer.
So you don't
I
have
had.
freedom.
Why would my daughter get? Why would my daughter, a 3-year-old daughter who's supposed to be innocent, who has no problem, what does that need to teach me that my daughter got cancer? What did I need to learn from that?
Well, I don't know, but lots of people have bad things that happen to them, and they don't like
Okay,
blame
so then
God.
I don't believe that your God's all powerful because or all you can't be all knowledgeable and all powerful at the same time, or else he would have known this would happen. He would create a situation that doesn't allow children to suffer through things like this. There are things that he would do to why do we have to have strife and turmoil to show that we love him? I love my kids. I don't need to
Because
show to punish them so that they'll love me more. That's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard in my
of
life. Let
course,
me punish you
every
so you'll love me more.
every
That
parent
makes so much sense.
every parent discipline. If you don't discipline your child, they're gonna grow up to resent you because they won't be able to function.
So, but I don't discipline my children by cutting off one of their pet's arms or
Oh my gosh,
their
man.
or give their inject their
So
child with something their baby doll or whatever, make their little animal look like it's stupid because just to teach them a
okay,
lesson to
yeah,
make them
but
love me
the
more.
problem is
Fucking ridiculous.
when we rebel against God, we turn to love the world. So God temporarily, through His plan of redemption, has allowed
So
for
why
bad
doesn't he
things
just
to
come
happen.
to me and show me that he's actually here? Why doesn't he actually just be like,
He
come to me and
has.
talk to me and be like, hey,
You have all
I'm
the
here,
evidence
so
you
let's do
need,
this shit.
dude, because you have all the evidence you need, and it sounds like you're
No,
upset
you have
because
zero evidence. That's the problem. I have zero
incorrect. You couldn't
evidence to
have
show
more
that.
evidence. No, you couldn't
No,
have.
I've looked for it.
No, dude.
No, no,
Obviously,
no.
we heard your story.
You
You're
can live
some
blind faith. You can go through
dude,
blind faith in
dude.
your life, and you can
Stop
sit
acting
there.
like you're rational. Something bad happened in your life, and it sucks. And I don't want to be mean, but your position is based because something bad happened to you. You don't
Nope,
want
that's
that.
not the
You
only
blame
reason.
God.
That sealed the cake. Absolutely, that sealed the
Well,
cake of me
that's what I'm
absolutely
saying. Your
not.
position's not evidence based. So
Neither is
stop.
yours. Neither is
Yes, it
yours. You're reading a
is.
book that
No.
8,000 fucking people rewrote. So
Okay.
no, you have no
Well,
proof either,
look,
sir. You
man.
have
I'm
no
sorry that
actual proof.
happened to your child.
Your
That's
actual
awful.
proof, your faith is not proof.
But I can't.
And that's all you guys say is, how can so many people believe? Well, you know what? It's the same thing. How many people can fucking
All
sit
right.
there and believe that
You
fucking
can't. He's not listening. So I mean, I'm sorry that that happened to you. That sucks. But like, it's not a reason to reject God. I have had bad things happen to me. Everyone has bad things happen to them. We don't just abandon God. Welcome, guests of VYT.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Can you hear me now? Hey, I
Yes.
had a question about belief in God. I believe in God, but I am wondering why. You said, did you say before you weren't Catholic, whatever, were you?
I was raised Catholic. I'm probably considered.
Okay.
I'm like Protestant now, though. I would
So
say.
what would it? I remember we talked a while ago, but like, why did you leave the Catholic Church?
I think it's corrupt. Like there's
Okay.
the child abuse scandal was going on at the time.
Right, but that doesn't mean that it's not that Jesus created the church and Jesus passed it on.
Yeah, I think the church, the institution has been corrupted by like evil. So I
But
don't have a problem with
every church has evil, and there are bad people in every
it.
church.
True.
I mean, every you could point to every single denomination in the world. They have people who've done horrible things to anybody, you know.
Yeah,
So
but I think the Catholic Church has been infiltrated by the Freemasons, and the
okay,
Freemasons.
well that's okay. That's a good question. How do you know that?
Well, because they put out this thing, the Alta Vendetta, the Pope.
Right, but that's also like the church has always condemned Freemasonry from the beginning.
Because they found a letter where the Freemasons were discussing their plans to infiltrate the Catholic Church. And so the church put out this Alta Vendetta, this thing warning Catholics and about this plot, and they banned Catholics from becoming Masons until recently. So
Right, but right now the church, there's no Freemason in the church right now.
yeah, well, I disagree. I think the Masons successfully infiltrated the Catholic
Okay,
Church. And
can you
then,
name a specific bishop or pope who's a Freemason?
no, I don't. This is just what I believe. I
I
believe
know,
that.
but I'm saying like if you're gonna not become Catholic because you have to go on what you know, like evidence. Like there's no evidence
Gave
that
you
there's
the evidence. The Masons were discussing infiltrating the Catholic Church to the point where the Pope was afraid of it, right? And I think they were successful, right? And evidence that they're successful is the child abuse scandals. There you go.
but okay, but that doesn't follow. That
Okay.
Freemasons don't believe in doing that.
Yes, they do, dude. They're Luciferian. Um, I was obsessed with the occult and like the P Diddy. Like I know all about the P Diddy and the Epstein. Okay, that is satanic stuff. All right, I know this. The Catholic Church was involved in it. That means Satan is in the Vatican. Sorry, it's true. So doesn't mean Jesus and the Holy Spirit isn't with us or that the Holy Spirit isn't in the hearts of Catholics. But in the Vatican, there is no Holy Spirit. There's the spirit of the Antichrist.
Yeah, this faith and works thing is like apparently a huge deal. Like,
yeah, it is.
do people not know that you like everything is a work, is an action. Your mind to your what's the word I'm looking for, to your actions, like physically, are all in motion and all acts. You can't not act. Like just like, do people not understand the basic understandings of like how their mind works in general?
It's kind of a contradiction. Like people want to think that either they go to the extremes, right? They want to
Yeah,
think
exactly. Yeah, because they can't read. Like
they
they're just
want to think they're either they're saved by grace and their works are nothing, or that their works.
and that's how you get contradiction, though. That's how you get like literal people that's like, I'm saved by Jesus, but I'm out here like sleeping with all these
Well, that's
different
when
people,
you get
doing
the.
all these other like.
Have you heard of free grace?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right.
And that's like goofy, where they think they can just do anything.
And that's literally, and he literally like, get away from me. I never knew you. For I never knew you because like, what are you doing? Like you're just speaking his name and saying, I don't gotta work for
They
this
think
because
they're
you
saved
got.
by because Paul will say the more we sin, the more grace.
So
Like
then,
what? Like this is
well,
crazy. Yeah.
the free gracers go, well, let's just like sit all over it. It'll be like more
It's
grace.
so bad. It's such bad logic.
Paul's not saying to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
He's
It's
just saying that
embarrassing.
God can forgive everything.
There you go. Exactly. Like God can forgive everything, but He knows your heart. So He knows. So when somebody is literally out there pew pewing and unaliving and doing all this other thing, He also knows that that person is in a dangerous place mentally. He also knows when they genuinely want to stop doing that stuff. You genuinely saying, I know God is real and I know He gonna forgive me and I'm going to do this action while knowing God. Oh, that's wild disrespectful. Like that's a different level of disrespect.
People will look at some people actions and they'll judge someone based on their actions. But the problem is that to truly judge the actions, you have to know the heart, the intent behind the action. And so, because only God can really know a man's heart,
There you go.
we're
Right.
kind of in a position where we can't really.
Exactly. We don't have that. We don't have access to that. So we can't judge on that scale. All we can do is try to point people in the right direction to be like, hey, Christ died for your sins. Christ loves you. Like, I hope you turn that around. Like,
People tend to focus on the actions, what they like is tangible, and the heart, which they can't really know, they kind of ignore.
right.
Jesus told us like that's the most important thing. That
Exactly. Is the heart. Because
the heart is where
yeah.
he said like, well, even if like, let's say you don't unalive your brother, but you want to, Jesus
Exactly.
says that's just as bad as you actually doing the action, because the heart is what matters most, and then the actions are a secondary thing.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously they the heart and the mind, they go in tandem. They go in tandem to where you work on your thoughts. You work on like not killing, unaliving those things in your head that's like, poisonous to your life decisions, right? Like bad eating habits, not working out, like discipline, things like that, right? So the more and more you hone your heart and your thoughts, like those negative things kind of subside and they don't pop up in your head as much, like because you disciplined yourself.
Yeah, we're always going to be sinners, but the difference is like we are not willfully choosing a lifestyle of sin.
Yeah, exactly. You have to.
When we sin, we're making mistakes. We're falling short. We're, and then we repent.
Human.
Ask for forgiveness.
Yeah,
like a lifestyle. Someone who's like willful. It's different than someone who's like choosing just to do whatever.
Right. Like tripping down the staircase and smacking and hitting somebody dog by accident, right? It's technically bad, but it's not willfully bad, right? Like it's technically an evil act. Even if you unalive the dog, it's technically right to unalive something. Technically bad, but like
there's a difference between accidentally making a mistake and willfully making a mistake. Yeah.
Right.
So there's like leniency in like if someone unalives someone and it's not their intention, we call that manslaughter as opposed to murder. And so we give them leniency because it's not like they're necessarily a threat to society because they're like mentally ill or something. It's that they made a mistake, but they still made a mistake, so they still have to like pay their debt to society.
Like those hunting accidents when people are reloading and they're like somebody's in the wrong spot while they're reloading the gun and it goes off and things like that. It happens a lot.
Or like second degree and first degree murder. Like first degree is like planned, so there's intent.
Right. But you see how all of this is structured in philosophy and law and psychology. And like in econ, like the mind of God, the mind of like reality, it's all consistently in the same kind of order and the same kind of web where it's just levels and intricacies and context within all of the things that we do. And that's what the Bible and any of these things are trying to tell you is about how to dissect the web accurately. Because every story is not going to be the same. There's going to be certain identical stories, so you can use the same web to like the same pattern to like understand the right way to answer this shit. or it's gonna be something that you never seen we never experienced before. You're gonna have to be like, all right, how do I accurately make a right decision within this complicated ass motherfucking case that I'm dealing with? It's literally law. It's literally law. I think people need to understand that part about it. Yeah.
Well, I guess not really getting a lot of people coming up to debate, so I might wind this in the live here. Thanks for coming up, man.
Yeah, anytime, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, right on.
God bless.
Yeah, God bless everyone. Wish everyone